Bitcoin is the epitome of value. You know, it's the pinnacle. It's the highest point that we as humans have reached as far as being able to communicate value to one another.
From Peckham, South East London, this is the Genesis Block Education Podcast, and I'm your host, Bitcoin Bow Malks. People, welcome. It's been so long. I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody's healthy, mentally and physically. This period's been tough. I'm not gonna lie. It's been really tough. I'm struggling a bit now. I'm blessed. I've got my family around me. So just make sure you're checking in on your people, your friends, making sure everybody's all right. So I didn't actually mean to take this long off. So I just meant to, rest my feet up for about a month. But you know how it goes. Time just rolls on. You look at your watch and 3 months are gone. But in saying that, we have been productive with our time off. Our new website's good to go, so check it out, bitcoinbiomalks.com. Our course, Bitcoin Basics, is on Udemy. Definitely check that out if you really want to understand what this Bitcoin thing is all about. We've been productive, but at the same time, I've just kind of missed breaking sort of the big stories. And we've had a lot happen. I mean, for example, Bitcoin's gone from about 10-15K from when I last did my podcast to around 60K. The market cap's now burst through the $1 trillion threshold, which is insane. We're talking about an asset which has grown from zero to $1 trillion in 12 years. This is something different, guys, so keep an eye on it. Anyway, what else have I missed? Just wall of institutions coming into Bitcoin, celebrities, all manner of discussions around Bitcoin. And obviously you get the FUD, which is the fear and uncertainty and doubt about Bitcoin, about how it's going to be banned and how it's going to break up every minute. So there's a lot going on. I'm just happy to be back to go through this journey with you, and hopefully you find some value in these podcasts. So today we're welcoming back Bennie Overton, and my podcast with Bennie was probably one of my best performing, not only because Bennie's knowledge, insight, but also Bennie's circumstance was quite eye-opening. Bennie is a crypto expert, guru, and educator, but Bennie is currently incarcerated in the US federal prison, 9 years into a 17-year sentence for armed robbery. Now, if you haven't listened to our previous podcast, Bitcoin is Freedom, make sure you listen to it. It's a real eye-opener and it really opens your mind about what Bitcoin means. Bigger than the speculation, bigger than the number go up and everybody get rich. Bitcoin has more importance to many people across the globe. It's not just about getting rich quick. Bennie breaks down such complex concepts, making it understandable to almost anyone. That's definitely his gift. So today's show, entitled The Great Bitcoin Bull Run, we are discussing the concept of the Bitcoin supercycle, popularized by Dan Held of Kraken. And this is the idea that this Bitcoin bull run cycle is going to be bigger, stronger, deeper than we've ever seen before. And that's driven by So you're going to listen to this podcast and you're going to get a lot of value out of it, because that's just what Bennie does. On the Genesis Block Education podcast, we're looking for ways where we can add value to Bennie. So guys, if you find this episode of any value, please, we would like to take donations to support Bennie. In the show notes, we will have listed the public address for Bennie's Bitcoin and Ethereum wallets. If you find this podcast of any value to you and you feel that you can make a donation, please do that. The second area that we're going to try and reach and support Bennie on is in legal support. If there's anyone in the US that this podcast reaches, or you hear, or you know anyone who could provide counsel or advice for Bennie in his position. Now, Bennie is a victim of the Biden legislation, the three strikes and out, which has obviously impacted him adversely. Now that Biden and his sidekick Kamala Harris are in office, the hope is that the reforms that they're bringing in to reverse some of the poor legislation that they rolled out all those years ago will trickle down to Benny. This is definitely a call to our American listeners and anybody who's connected on the other side of the pond. Again, I'm going to repeat this call out in the outro, but just as a heads up, please see the show notes. Benny is incarcerated, so he's actually in prison. So the sound quality on the podcast is not fantastic, and you may hear background noises and disturbances, but just try and focus on what's being said, because that's where the value lies. So listen to the podcast, enjoy as per usual, share, like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any queries, get in contact with us. Check out the website, and I'll see you on the other side. Over to you, Benny. Benny, welcome back. It's been a while. It's a pleasure to speak to you again and just to hear your views. Before we kick into it, I just want to give you a few seconds to find out how you're doing. How is everything with you? How's everything on your side?
I'm doing great, man. As far as my situation is concerned, and I got a few things going on in my personal life as far as family members and stuff like that. But I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there.
No, fantastic. It's really good to hear from you. And this is the second, I guess you could call it a second season of the Genesis Block Education podcast. And I will say that your podcast was by far the most popular, the most listened to, the most downloaded. And it just, people wanted to hear what you said, and your message really resonated. I don't know if it was the title, but Bitcoin is freedom, which is a bit of a clickbait, but your message really resonated with people. And I'm just looking forward to hear what you have to say in this session. And just to give people a heads up, we're going to do multiple sessions with Benny over the next year, because we are in a Bitcoin bull run. And in fact, the title of today is called The Great Bitcoin Bull Run, and Benny's going to explain a bit more. So before we sort of jump into that, I'm going to ask you a first question, just to open the floor. So Benny, can you just explain to the listeners, and you probably know my audience, a lot of the people are sort of new people to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So people who are still on that journey, starting to learn and understand this space. What makes Bitcoin valuable? And let me add a bit more to that. So, back in, 2009, 2010? So this Satoshi guy comes out of nowhere, and he created a digital asset which started from $0. And within our lifetime, we've got a financial asset which is worth $1 trillion. Well, in and around $1 trillion. Crazy, just a crazy idea. Yes. What makes Bitcoin valuable?
Well, I'll try to keep this as short as possible.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, we got a lot to go through.
To give a brief, detailed history, you have Satoshi Nakamoto, who presented the white paper to a community of encryption enthusiasts.
Yeah.
On a forum on October the 31st of 2008, and he presented this white paper to explain a problem that we had, globally as a society, that middlemen, third-party middlemen, were making things difficult for people to accumulate wealth, to access financial services, and so forth.
Yeah.
And he presented a solution as what he called Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And this solution brought to the table the ability to transact globally value through a scarce asset that no one could manipulate or control from a center point. There was no central point of failure, and there's no central point of control. And so Bitcoin itself is an application on this innovative technology that he brought to the table as a solution, a decentralized network. And it took a while for it to catch on or whatever, but he presented this to this forum. People asked him a ton of questions. He answered their questions as an individual, to this global platform. And then he said that he will release the software, soon. He also mentioned that it took him, that he had been coding this thing for 18 months. For a year and a half, he had been coding this thing. On January the 3rd of 2009, he launched the software, um, which was basically you download the software locally to your device or computer. And, at that time, you could take a normal, regular computer and you could mine newly created Bitcoin. And that was the beginning of of what we know today as Bitcoin. And it was a long road because you had a group of developers and programmers and coders and things that were there on the platform with him that helped him develop it to make it stronger. When he originally deployed it, it was at what he himself had done. Out of all of the questions and things that people had asked him, and the things that other people contributed as suggestions and advice, they worked on it together, and it got stronger. The code got more secure, and it's still an open source community that continues to maintain this network.
How does Satoshi manage to make this idea gain traction and increase in value? So I understand the part around sort of building the network, and how did he actually attach a monetary value to this, or was it attached by someone? Yeah, how did it become valuable?
Okay, originally before he deployed it, he had the code already set to where there would be a limit of not necessarily 21 million. Everyone says,
yeah, I say it all the time. Yeah, me too.
But it's really like 20,900,000 and something thousand coins. Slowly it would be issued out. Um, every block, the first 210,000 blocks will give a reward to the miners of 50 coins. So that first 210 blocks produced about 10,500,000 coins, and that was basically the first 4 years of Bitcoin. Um, and at that time, from 2009 to 2010, they had absolutely no value whatsoever. It was just a group of people who were playing with something that could, work as a store of value as well as some kind of currency globally, without a middleman. And so they around 2010, May of 2010, someone on that forum accepted 10,000 bitcoins for two large Papa John pizzas, and that gave Bitcoin a value of 3/10 of a penny, not even a whole penny, 3/10 of a penny, because if you take two $15 pizzas and you take 10,000 bitcoins and you divide that up amongst 15, $30, it came out to 3/10 of a penny.
Wow.
And that was May of 2010. They call it Pizza Day, May 22nd, actually,
Sure.
of 2010.
Was this built by design? Because it just seems like every sort of 4 years you hear so much around Bitcoin, and then it disappears for another few years, and then it comes back again. Yeah, can you just
Yeah, I'll elaborate on that.
Yeah.
I'm not an economist.
Okay.
Okay, I've taken economics 101 some years ago, but I do understand the basics of supply and demand.
Yeah.
The belief of Satoshi comes from a long line of crypto anarchists and cypherpunks, and they believe in I don't know if it's I don't know the term, but there's an
Austrian economics
view of economics.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There's an Austrian view of economics. One of the guys is Mises.
Yeah, the
If I
Mises.
pronounce his name right.
Yeah.
SES.
Yeah.
He's one of the, economists. His philosophy is something that they adopted.
Yeah.
As far as a view of global economics, how it should be ran, or open markets and so forth. So, in the original design before Satoshi deployed it, and it's not exactly 4 years. What it is 210,000 blocks of transactions.
Right.
A block of transactions is mined on average at every 10 minutes, and it's adjusted every 2 weeks. Every 2001, I think it's every 2016 blocks. The program, the algorithm, it readjusts itself based on whether blocks are being found quicker than 10 minutes or lesser than 10 minutes.
Right.
So basically, what it comes down to is he designed it to have a issuance rate to where the early adopters would benefit greatly.
Yeah.
For those who believed in it early. So every 210,000 blocks, the issuance cuts in half. So we go from 50 coins being rewarded to the miners to only 25. The next 210,000 blocks, which that happened between 2012 and 2013, where we had a halving, and the first halving happened in November of 2012.
Yeah.
And it went from not 50, but then it went to 25 coins being issued out to miners.
Right.
The next one was 2016, July of 2016, and it went from 25 to only 12 and a half coins being issued out as a reward to the miners. We had one last year in May.
Yeah.
And that was May 11th, I believe, of last year. It went from 12 and a half to only 6 and a quarter coins now being rewarded to the miners. Now we see the institutions coming in. So they've woken up and they've decided that, okay, this is something that can't be, basically can't be stopped because of its decentralized nature, which is the essence of it.
So it sounds like, so when there's a reduction in supply and then an increase in demand, then that kind of forces the value of Bitcoin up. And as the number of users grow, then the value of Bitcoin increases. So it's like a positive feedback loop that happens all the time.
That's exactly what it is. It's a positive feedback loop. The traditional financial system we have is a negative feedback loop.
Right.
Where it's constantly a downward spiral. So this is the opposite.
Right.
And it's amazing, man. You hit the nail right on the head. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
So
positive feedback loop.
So is this a Ponzi scheme? Because I have heard a few people say Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, and if it's not, why is it not? Because I struggle in articulating an answer for that.
And I for anyone looking into Bitcoin of what it is, I believe that's a pertinent question. That's a question that needs to be asked, because you look at a Ponzi scheme and you say the people who come in first, they bring in newcomers and they say, okay, you get to benefit only if you bring in newcomers. Which is a pyramid scheme.
Pyramid scheme.
But the thing about a Ponzi scheme or pyramid scheme is not only is it illegal, but
not gonna lie, this is a long one with Benny, but it's never 100%. Ever a waste of time with Benny. It's worth the listening. What you gain out of these, what you gain from Benny's podcast will pay. What you gain from Benny's podcast will repay you. So invest the time, listen, understand, and join the debate.
So it's not that if you flip a Ponzi scheme upside down, then it becomes not if you get people up under you to come in, you win. Now it becomes if you don't come in, right? It's gonna be it's more risky to not get into Bitcoin than to actually get into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has become such a store of value that it's a better version of gold than gold is.
Wow, you flipped that on my head right now. I'm just imagining an upside down Ponzi scheme where that's
Upside down
crazy.
Ponzi scheme. It's going to work against you if you don't come in. And that's what you see with these institutions coming in today. They have realized that if I don't get in here and I continue to hold these dollars, which are losing 7 to 10% annually, consistently, right? Like Michael Saylor says, the CEO of MicroStrategies,
Yeah,
he said he's sitting on $500 million of cash reserve. He said the U.S. dollar is losing 7 to 10% value annually. I'm
crazy.
sitting on a $500 million ice cube that's a cup away. And that's how he put it. And he
Yeah.
says, it only makes sense that, I purchase something that's going to not only hold the value of my reserve, but also increase the value of my reserve. And that was the decision he made to
Mm,
actually go into debt. He went into $1 billion debt.
mm.
He created some kind of bond or something and allowed people to purchase it that he would buy back later. So he went into debt to purchase $1 billion worth of Bitcoin,
That
and it
is
only made sense to
insane.
him.
That is insane. So we'll get on to the institutions in a minute, especially Michael Saylor. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is just a crazy idea that guy's got. But before I go into sort of the next set of questions, I just want to ask you, where's Satoshi now then? Where is this Satoshi guy?
You know what? The only thing we have to go on is
Yeah.
that there's a wallet that we know, because of the transparency of the Bitcoin network, we know that he mined about a million coins
Mm,
into a wallet. I don't know if he had more than one computer he was mining on or not, but there's one wallet that everyone knows, um, and anyone can go to a block explorer and find his wallet. You can see that he has about a million coins in a wallet, that he mined originally. Um, and mind you, once Bitcoin went to the value of $1, which everyone thought was impossible,
mm-hmm,
that it could reach the value of $1.
mm-hmm,
The network was strong enough that they no longer needed his help. An open source community of developers and programmers, who were already contributing to the development of the network. He basically backed out the way and disappeared.
mm,
Um, the only thing we have attached to him that we can see is that wallet.
mm.
Not one coin out of that wallet has been moved or sold or cashed out or anything. So who he is, if he's a group of people, if he's well, of course he's a group of people because he took a number of technologies that had been developed by
Mm.
others, and he brought them together as one, and then these other people helped him develop that even further. The people that he brought the idea to on the forum before he launched the software. So he's one person, but he's not.
Mm. Interesting.
You understand what I mean? He's one person, but he's many people generationally back to the early '80s of the first cypherpunks who had this idea
Yeah.
that they would create something, some kind of currency or something, some type of financial structure that could not be manipulated by governments or bankers.
Got it.
And he took that idea from others who developed it in the early '80s.
Mm.
Timothy May, John Hughes, and these other guys, Barlow. I can't remember Barlow's first name.
Sure.
I think it's John Barlow or something like that. He wrote a paper called the Declaration of Independence of Cyberspace.
Mm.
Timothy May, he wrote the Cypherpunk Manifesto, and John Hughes, he wrote the Crypto Anarchist Manifesto. These guys had put these ideas and concepts and these philosophies in these papers.
Mm.
John Barlow, he wrote his in, I believe, 93 or something like that. Timothy May wrote the manifesto. He says in '88, but he didn't present it to the internet until like '92.
Mm.
And the other guy, Barlow, he wrote his in like 2001, I believe.
Crazy.
So this is what Satoshi, he took those ideas and developed them further.
Okay, so the name of the show or the title of the show is the Great Bitcoin Bull Run. So, in
Yes.
your words, what is a bull run?
Well, in any market, whether you're dealing with any kind of commodity or stock, when there's a bull run, that means there's just there's a demand for this thing
Hmm.
that is unparalleled. And depending on what the supply is, the bull run is going to run for a significant amount of time.
Hmm.
Um, and it's going to spike the price over and over, basically, until you reach a peak. Once you get to the peak, normally in a bull run, it's going to be followed by a strong bear market, or basically a very deep downturn.
Hmm. Wow, that's a great explanation. So we're talking really a bull run is driven by price action, um, and also again a supply shock, and that's essentially what the halving does. So we're saying that the halving triggers the bull run because I mean when we look at historic bull runs, they normally happen about 12 months after the halving happens, and yeah, is that what we're seeing in 2021?
That's exactly what we're seeing in 2021, and it's going to last. If we go by history, if we go by history, and the prior two bull runs, or three, if you look at the initial deployment of the software, there will be
Hmm.
three bull runs.
Yeah.
And if you look at these three bull runs, you'll see that December is normally the peak, the peak moment to
Ah,
before the bear market sets in or starts to take over.
understood. Right.
So we're looking at December of 2021 as a peak.
So it might it could be before, it could be after, but roughly December of the year after the halving is normally when we see the peak of a bull
Yeah,
run.
because if you look at the first halving that
Yeah.
happened in November of 2012, the peak was reached in December of 2013.
Just
And
to
if you look at the next,
Yeah.
mhm,
No, I was going to say just to give you some numbers on that. So, in the, I guess you said it wasn't, it was the first issuance of the software. There was a bull run, and it went from 30 cents to $10. That's a
no,
33x.
it actually went from 3/10 of a penny
Oh, 3 tenths
in
of a
May.
penny. Okay, all right.
Yes, it
Wow.
went from 3/10 of a penny in May of 2010 to when we got to July
Mm,
of 2010.
wow.
You have May, June, July. When we got to July of 2010, it was at 9 cent from 3/10 of a penny.
Wow. Wow.
By July of the next year, it was $15.
Right. Got you.
So we're talking about roughly 15, 16 months. It went
Mm,
from 3/10 of a penny to $15,
mm. That's
which is an
insane.
astronomical explosion.
Insane.
Um, the next the next halving happened in July of 2016.
Hmm.
And after that halving, there wasn't much boom going on right after the halving.
Hmm.
It went from in July it was about $650 maybe
Hmm.
of 2016, and then by December it was roughly about maybe $900, something like that, $800 or $900. By January of 2017, we're at about $1,000.
Mm.
And then when we get to December of 2017, which is roughly about 16 months later, we're at $20,000. So the
Crazy.
first bull run was 13
20x.
months.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the first bull run was 13 months, November of 2012 to December of 2013. The next one we have July of 2016, and we get to December of 2017, we're at 20,000, so that's about 16 months.
Okay.
This bull run started in, well, the halving was in May.
Yep. May
And when we
2020.
reached December, yeah, when we reached December of 2021, we'll be at about 19 months. So I started calculating the future bull runs to add 3 months from the halving, which the next bull run I'm going to calculate would probably be around March of 2024, and it will end about December of 2025, which will give us about 21 months, 22 months.
So this is the next cycle that you're
That would be
predicting.
the next cycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's fine.
I went all the way up to like 20, 45 or something. I've been playing with these numbers day and night for the last 4 years.
Wow. Wow. All right, so we're specifically for this discussion focusing on what's going to happen this year. So we are now trending in and around $50,000. We're only a few months into the year, and there is a lot of talk of 2021 cycle being a super cycle, and that's a term popularized by Dan Held from Kraken, and there's quite a few sort of supporting points or arguments as to why there will be a super cycle in 2021, and the first reason is the macro economic environment and the social backdrop. And just to add to that is obviously we've had COVID, which is really exploded digital currency in a way that nothing else. There's been no bigger catalyst than COVID. If we look at it, we've also had a much clearer narrative in 2021 around Bitcoin. And just to add to that, back in 2016, 2017, you had the Bitcoin hard fork, you had ICO. So there was different stories going on. You had Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, but this time round, there seems to be like a much clearer narrative around what Bitcoin is, right? And it also, the third factor is that it's a lot easier for capital to flow into Bitcoin, with new on ramps. You've got PayPal, you've got Square, Cash App, Robinhood, all these things. So these are the three kind of key concepts I want to focus on. So I guess my question to you is, what makes 2021 such a different year to the previous cycles?
I want to make this comprehensible for everyone.
Cool.
No matter what your educational level, or whatever. Basically, I want to start with we have institutions and governments who have discovered the store of value of this asset that, as an individual, you can hold in your head. Okay? Imagine someone worth, let's say Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, worth, over $100 billion. If their total, worth was in this asset, and they had a private key, which was a mnemonic phrase of 12 words, they could hold these 12 words in their mind, and they could travel anywhere in the world with the entire wealth of what they have in their head as a 12-word mnemonic phrase. That is unparalleled as far as value and wealth goes on this planet. Because if I was worth, let's say $100,000. That alone, I would be able to, stuff my pockets with it, carry it in a bag, put it in my socks. If it was gold, I would be able to, store it and, bury it like pirates used to do back in the day. They would go island to island and bury treasure so that they could come back and get it later, so that they wouldn't have to carry it on them.
Yep.
These type of things, dealing with wealth, you had to have a place to store it. Now you can store your wealth in your head.
Crazy.
No matter how much you're worth, you could, Bitcoin could hold that value. I don't care if it was $1 trillion. As we can see, it could hold the value of $1 trillion at its infancy stage, because it's still in its infancy stage. There's less than 1% of the planet who has value stored in Bitcoin, even today after 12 years of existence. So this bull run here, we had the previous bull runs. We had people who were experimenting with something new. Then we had the retail investors coming in, trying their hand and trading it heavily, and realizing that they could, make a lot of money trading this asset. But now today we have mega billionaires, and we have whole governments trying to use this as a store of value.
Mm-hmm.
They say, I'm going to jump in. You even have the city of Miami.
Yep.
You have other governments around the world, such as Iran. You have, you just have an unbelievable amount of wealth looking at this thing as something that they could store value in. And they're just dibbling and dabbling with a few billion here and there, such as Elon Musk. He took 1.5 billion, put it in Bitcoin, and 2 weeks later, he had earned more in appreciation than his company had made the entire year of 2020 selling
Crazy.
vehicles.
Yeah.
So we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of what not only is possible, but what we're probably going to experience in our lifetime of a new asset and a new store of value that is virtual, digital, and you can hold in your head. A lot of the things about that have not been realized by a lot of people that have that now have something secure that they can use. Basically, it's like a network. You're part of a global network.
Mm.
You keep this key in your mind. No matter where you travel on the planet, you can access and open up this value anywhere around the globe. I mean, that in itself is it's beyond revolutionary. It's truly an evolution in human societal development. I mean, this is something that you can't place a value on. There's no ceiling here.
So what impact does that have on society? So let's. I know with you, we always got to look at this is the social impact of
Yes.
Bitcoin, or of this technology. So what does it really mean to society?
Well, society first needs to be educated, because we have people chasing profits. That is a very, very low way of looking at this. That is like it's I don't know how to explain it. Really, I don't really know how to find the words to explain it. But people chasing profits off of this, they're not seeing the true value in it. The profits is the easiest thing. I mean, you can just buy Bitcoin and hold it, and it's gonna fly to the moon. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or anything like that. If you don't believe in the technology and or understand the educational value of it, if you don't understand the fundamentals of it, then of course you only see it as something. Let me trade it real quick and try to make a 15% or 20% profit and get out, and continually do that over and over. You're not you're missing the entire point. And those are day traders. They try to get a quick flip of their money and then get out and sell and buy it back in and make a 20 or 30% profit and pull out, and they keep doing that over and over. They're not seeing the value of collecting and storing this because they don't understand the fundamentals. They don't understand the scarcity of it, and they don't understand the value of it as far as a store of value. And how big that is for billionaires, people who are control, such as BlackRock, who control $7 to $8 trillion of assets.
How about the little man? How about the little man? What's the
The
impact?
little man
Yeah,
doesn't need. The
yeah.
little man can put $25 a month in this, and he's going to consistently gain something that is going to propel him into the future with a solid rock
Hmm.
of of an asset that he can leverage
Mm-hmm.
to not only store value and bring value to his life, but it can also bring him out of the debt that he's put himself in. As most little people have some form of debt, whether they have a house or a car,
Yeah.
whether they have kids that they want to put through the educational system. I mean, the implications of this, the social impact, is something that no one can even begin to fathom. This is something we're going to have to walk through and just watch. Like, as we are today, we're just watching so many things develop and jump out at us that people could have never imagined, not even, a year ago, let alone 5 or 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We're seeing things happen, rapidly progress. Things that we could have never imagined. You mentioned PayPal, you mentioned Square, I mean, it's just, banks have been given the okay to banks have been, banks in America, they have been given the
Yeah.
okay to settle transactions in stablecoin
Hmm.
on a public blockchain. So you look at a public blockchain like Ethereum, the stable coins are something like DAI, decentralized. These banks will allow you to transact on their networks in stable coins, which means eventually, sometime soon, you'll be able to go grocery shopping, you'll be able to pay your bills and everything
Mm.
with these borderless open stable coins. People are not thinking this far of how huge and how big of an impact this is going to have on people's lives. There's no need to use or hold the US dollar any longer, not as a global currency and not even as a local currency, because they're going to print it into oblivion.
So how much did the COVID-19 crisis of 2020 accelerate all of this?
We go back to March of last year, this
Yeah.
time last year,
Yeah.
when everything started getting put on lockdown, and they started, the stock market was struggling. People look at Bitcoin, majority of people who are in the Bitcoin space at the moment, they look at it as some type of stock or tradable asset, something that you trade day to day.
Hmm.
And Bitcoin suffered in the beginning. We had a $4,800 price around this time last year. I believe it was like March the 12th, March the 15th, something like that of last
Yeah.
year. Bitcoin was at $4,800 per
Mm-hmm.
coin. Then the stimulus checks and stuff started coming out, and Bitcoin, of course, a lot of people took this money and they started putting it into this asset, this new thing, to try it out. And, because they've heard about it or they looked at some of its past performance, then they started putting money in it. We're coming up on the halving. It goes to, $9, 10, $11,000. A lot of people made a lot of money.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and yeah, they made a lot of money. And that propelled it into the mainstream as far as people who didn't know anything about it. They started hearing things, they started seeing things, and they were like, I want to take a chance also. And a lot of money came into Bitcoin just because of the pandemic situation. People who would not have heard about it, they heard about it because of the money that was made through the economics, so-called economic stimulus, which basically was trillions of dollars added to the supply, which is where the term inflation comes from. When people think of inflation, they think of rising prices, but actually it means inflating the supply of dollars
So
into society.
so the money
Which
printing
devalues the
basically.
dollars that are already, money printing. It devalues
Yeah.
the dollars that are already in circulation.
That is incredible.
So, I mean, the smart thing to do is to take those dollars and put it into an asset that is scarce, and the demand is rising. So therefore, it's going to not only store the value, but it's going to increase the value that you put in it. And it only makes sense. It's a no-brainer. So, and that's why Michael Saylor said he sees no problem in taking on $1 billion debt, to buy this asset. And his corporation was valued at about 1.5 billion before he took on $1 billion of debt, and he bought Bitcoin with that $1 billion. And now his corporation is valued at over, I believe, 7 or 8 billion, somewhere around there.
Yeah, can you break down what is pulling the institutions into Bitcoin? Is it FOMO? What are the major things?
It's just basic. Basically, it's these corporations are sitting on these melting ice cubes,
Right.
like Michael Saylor said. They have tons of cash as a reserve that they have to have some kind of cash reserve. Um, liquid finances that they can access at any given time, as far as any kind of economic trouble or corporate any troubles that these corporations might run into. They have to have access to financial liquidity.
Hmm.
And that's why they sit on so much cash. And nothing is a better reserve on the planet than the U.S. dollar, or gold until now. um, that's your liquidity. So these corporations today, they're safeguarding against the inflation of dollars. They're hedging, basically. Michael Saylor said he's not just hedging against the U.S. dollar. He said that it's a corporate strategy.
Right.
He said the Bitcoin he's buying, he's not selling for at least 100 years. He's saying never sell Bitcoin,
Crazy.
which is, anyone, and he's like a real life rocket scientist.
He is. He is.
Um,
He
but it
is.
but it doesn't take a real rocket scientist to see the basics of this thing. It's really a no-brainer when you understand the basics of supply and demand, scarcity, and what we have before, what we had before this appeared, as a safeguard, which will be gold, silver, U.S. dollars. What I mean, that's really your only solid options besides real estate. The real estate market has been, extremely inflated itself in value. It's a dangerous bubble right now. You have the bond markets, which is a dangerous bubble right now.
Mm.
You have student loans, or loans for vehicles. For people to own vehicles. These things are major dangerous bubbles right now
Mm.
that are going to collapse.
Mm.
The Fed keeps printing dollars, inflating them, inflating the currency, basically propping up, stocks, bonds, and everything else that's attached to it.
Mm.
They're propping it up, and eventually that's going to collapse. You can't solve the problem of inflation with more inflation. It's going to collapse somewhere down the road. You're just kicking the bucket down the road.
So,
And these
go.
corporations see that, and they now have a lifeboat. Basically, they now have a life jacket that they can put on that will protect them from that collapse. And that's what Bitcoin means.
Micro strategy. You've got insurance companies like Mass Mutual, Tesla,
Hedge funds.
Grayscale, hedge funds. The list is increasing. And also one thing, for a lot of major institutions, there are a number of institutions which actually couldn't invest in Bitcoin because it was less than a trillion. Now that Bitcoin has started to go past that trillion because of obviously liquidity and it being quite a small asset, but now that problem is starting to go, as we're seeing Bitcoin market cap increase and go in and above 1 trillion. You see that FOMO increasing from in the institutions.
Most definitely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. that like you said, look at Apple for instance. Apple is worth a trillion or two itself.
Yeah.
The United States government just recently approved
One
1.9
point, yeah,
trillion in Bitcoin.
1.9, crazy.
I mean, that's nearly double of Bitcoin's entire market cap. Bitcoin could swallow that 1.9 trillion with like a python swallowing a small mouse.
That is insane.
I mean, it's just. Bitcoin is a bottomless pit when it comes to storing value. Because one of the things that allows it to do that is because it's highly divisible. There's 8 zeros behind a decimal, meaning one Bitcoin can be broken down into 100 million smaller pieces. And when you look at the Lightning Network, it can be broken down even smaller than that.
Wow.
So it's not. It would be nothing for Bitcoin to swallow 1.9 trillion. Like I said, it would be like a giant python swallowing a small mouse. That's that. It's still in this infancy stage. So as far as what solutions it brings to the table, there's no question that eventually, I don't know if it'll happen this year, which is more than possible, but eventually, every major corporation just in America could probably put at least 10% of its holdings, stored in something like Bitcoin. It's only a no-brainer for them to do that. MicroStrategies took its entire cash reserve and dumped it into Bitcoin. Not
Yeah.
only its entire cash reserve, but it went into $1 billion of debt to buy another $1 billion worth. Elon Musk, he jumped, he jumped right in. Obviously, after Michael Saylor groomed him.
Yeah, definitely. We saw that
Michael
happen.
Saylor, and Michael
Like,
Saylor also groomed. He's
groomed
groomed
everybody.
by Andreas. Obviously, he's groomed by Andreas
Of
Antonopoulos. I don't know
course.
if it's personal,
Yeah.
personal grooming, or if he just read Andreas's works
Yeah.
and watched his videos. But when you listen to Michael Saylor, he takes a lot of
Yeah, definitely.
his keynotes from Andreas Antonopoulos. And I don't mean to put Andreas on Front Street, but
It is what it
yeah,
is.
he is the he's like the mastermind, the master teacher when it comes to what you're seeing happening today. He's been talking about it for at least 5, 6, 7 years. He's been laying these things out that these things would come into play. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say shout out to Andreas still. Shout out to Andreas, definitely,
yes.
definitely. What was I gonna say? Okay, so a lot of questions against Bitcoin. The store of value narrative is Bitcoin's volatility, and with bull runs, what we normally see after a bull run is, especially in the 2017 bull run, is where we see these bear markets which swiftly follow, where we can see sell-offs followed by a 70, 80, even 90% correction, and which lasts a few years. With the last one lasting around 2.5 years. So do you feel that that's something that we're going to see in this cycle, given the sort of immense demand for Bitcoin, and all the out on ramps, all these institutions following MicroStrategy are going to hold their Bitcoin for 100 years? Do you still feel these bear markets are still likely to happen, or are we going to see a change in the shape of the market cycle to Bitcoin? Would you?
Well, of course, the infrastructure that we see today versus 4 years ago or even 8 years ago, the infrastructure is immaculate. It's so much easier to get into Bitcoin. The wallets,
Much better.
so much easier.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is much better. The corporations coming in and all of that stuff, the billions and billions of dollars that's pouring in. I want to say there's going to be a huge difference in what follows the bull run. I want to say that,
Mm-hmm.
but honestly, there's no way anyone can tell you what's going to follow this bull run.
Yeah.
Just as a safeguard, I would say, looking at the prior two bull runs where where Bitcoin's value dropped 80 to 84%.
Damn.
Um, I would safeguard, and I would just say that's going to happen this time.
Yeah. Worst case scenario.
I would say that's going to happen this time. So Bitcoin, the first, after the first halving, we had a bull run, and it went up to $1,124. It dropped all the way down to 230, like $234 or something like that. When it bottomed out from that peak. And then the next bull run reached over 20,000, and we bottomed out about a year and some change later in 2019. We bottomed out at 3,200, which was like an 84% drop from the 20,000. So if we reach a 500,000 here, which I believe is going to be more than 500,000, but if we reach a 500,000 here and we drop 80%, that's basically 5 times 8, which will be 450,000. So we would probably bottom out at about somewhere between 50 and 80,000 if we reach a 500,000, and it drops 80%.
Nice.
So once we peak in December, just as a safeguard, I will move all of my crypto into a stable coin. I will hold that value in a stable coin until I figure out 3 or 4 months later how this thing is behaving. And that's just as a safeguard. The danger in that is that these billionaires are buying up
exactly
the Bitcoin
supply.
When they get a hold of it, like Michael Saylor said, he's not going to sell it for.
He's holding that for 100 years. And he will.
The problem is, if it doesn't take that 80% dip and you sell it, you're going to have to buy it back at a premium, a steep premium.
Yeah.
And that's the problem in whether it's going to happen this time or not. You hold it and it does dip 80%. I'm going to take you back to the people here who've been holding since December 17.
I can't go back to there.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who bought in.
Yeah.
In December of 2017.
100%. I know a lot of people who did.
And a year later, it was 80% below that.
Yeah.
Some of those people held solid. And
they're
now reaping the benefits of holding. But some of those people couldn't hold. They
had
things to do and they had to sell it. That was dangerous for them
Very.
holding it. But those who were able to not sell and just ride this out, it was okay for them.
You say ride this out. I think for a lot of people coming into Bitcoin, okay, let me take a step back. I find it hard at these price points to tell people to buy Bitcoin, even though I do personally believe that it is undervalued. It's because I've been through a cycle, so I understand the dips, and my stomach is cast iron, cast iron now. So I can.
At the point where it's like a roller coaster ride.
It's nothing.
You go to the top and
yeah.
You dip all the way down.
Exactly. So my mind, my psychology has actually changed. Where I actually smile when I see it dip. But that took years, and that took a lot of training and emotional to be able to look at Bitcoin drop in price and just be that whatever. A new person coming in who comes in at, let's just say, at this price point, or a higher price point, and sees it drop to 20k from now. Yeah, it's difficult. And if it's like a family member or someone close who's not really used to it, so I struggle at these high price points. When it was under 10k and that kind of level, it was quite an easy conversation to have. At 50, 60, 70k, that's a lot of money. Just got one question I want to ask you around narrative, and I touched upon it earlier. In 2020 we had all these Bitcoin forks going on. We didn't know what the real Bitcoin was. We also had all these Ethereum ICOs. There was just so much going on. But it seems to be like a clearer narrative for Bitcoin, which is around this being a store of value. Do you still feel? Do you feel that's the strongest narrative for Bitcoin?
I'm glad you're giving me the opportunity to address this, because there's so many different projects out there. Some of them are great, some of them are not, some of them are scams, and Bitcoin is the epitome of value, and it's the pinnacle. It's the highest point that we as humans have reached as far as being able to communicate value to one another. And then you have Ethereum, which is a completely different creature. It took that model and it mutated it into a into a smart contract platform, which is basically a software platform. Which software is like playing with Play-Doh or clay. Whatever you can mold it into with your hands, that's what you have, and it's experimental. But looking at these two things, right? And Ethereum also, the Ethereum token, which we call Ether, it's a medium between it can be a currency, it can be used as a currency, but it's a medium of creativity. If you want to create something, this is what you need to use to bring that into manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, the two things, people who are coming up with these other projects, they want to get your Bitcoin, they want to get your Ethereum. And I want everyone listening to this to look at every other project that's not Bitcoin or Ethereum, to look at it as something that wants your Bitcoin or your Ethereum. and when you look at these other projects and you say, maybe I want to buy this, look deep into it. Look at who are the people deploying this. Look at the smart contract. If it's on Ethereum or if it has its own blockchain, look into who are the founders. Look into what is the problem, the real world problem that we have that is presenting a solution to. If there's no real world problem that is presenting a solution to, then it's nothing you should be trading your currency or your Bitcoin or your Ethereum for.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is a problem that is bringing a solution to, is this the best solution? Is there any other solution other than this coin project or this blockchain or this smart contract? And that's how you should look at every single other project other than Bitcoin or Ethereum. You should say, is there a real world problem? Is there any other way that this problem can be solved? Is there a better way, a more efficient way that this problem can be solved other than this, this crypto project? If not, don't trade your crypto, your Bitcoin or your Ethereum for this thing. Because that's what they're doing. They're shaking you out of something that has extreme value, that is extremely undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy Bitcoin. I don't care how little money you have. You can buy $2 worth. You can buy $1 worth. You can buy 50 cents worth. The thing is, it's an immaculate store of value that's going to constantly increase over the long period, over the long term. And you can constantly put $2 in here a week.
Yep.
$5 a month, or whatever you can afford, and it's going to profit you better than anything on this planet right now. And you can always collateralize it through DeFi or whatever, and you can get loans and you can get access to liquidity without selling this asset. It's like owning real estate, but being able to own a small, tiny piece of real estate. I mean, it's just something that the ICOs in 2016, 2017, they came about. They said, here we are, we've given these projects out, buy into it, give us your Ether, give us your Bitcoin, and 90-some% of those turned out to be not only duds, but many of them were scams. And it's the
straight scams.
You're looking at with DeFi.
Yeah,
straight scams. It's the same thing you're looking at with DeFi. It's the same thing you're looking at with IDOs. I got a lot of faith and a lot of courage in Chainlink and Polkadot. Outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yeah. I mean, other than that, everything else is you're pretty much you're gambling. And I don't support gambling. I'm not a gambler.
unless you've been hiding under a rock recently, you may have heard about this thing called Bitcoin. Bitcoin is everywhere at the moment, with people saying it's one of the most important inventions of the 21st century. If, like many people, you're still not sure or haven't got a clue what all the fuss is about or where to start on your learning journey, Genesis Block Education has the course for you. The Bitcoin Basics Beginners course is now available on Udemy. It's packed full of lectures, activities, and easy to follow resources which will give you the fundamental knowledge on what Bitcoin is, what makes it so valuable, and most importantly, how to obtain and secure it. If you want more information, please see the show notes or visit us at bitcoinbymalks.com. The Bitcoin Basics course. Without Bitcoin, there is no cryptocurrency.
So, Benny, I'm going to give you another opportunity to give an updated price prediction on this year's bull run. So, over to you. Where do you see us going in terms of price at the peak of the 2021 bull run? And just to remind you of your last prediction, it was 400k by December 2021. Over to you.
Now, looking at the current trend of things,
Yeah.
I'm going to up the ante here.
Oh.
I'm going to say a bare minimum of somewhere between 400 and 600,000.
Minimum.
Yes,
Wow.
minimum, and I say minimum because if this current trend picks up, and accelerates, it's very possible to see $1 million Bitcoin by December.
Wow.
And that's unimaginable. The 400,000 is unimaginable, for many. And I'm gonna say if this current trend continues to accelerate,
Okay.
and corporations and individuals with billions of dollars continue, and let me touch on this too.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a liquidity crisis coming.
Okay. Explain more. Elaborate a bit more on that.
Yeah. You have your day traders, like I said. You have three levels. Okay, about 80, probably about 83 to 86% of Bitcoin has not moved in over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so roughly there's about 2 million coins out there or less that are being traded and bought up off these exchanges. Out of 18.5 million that have been created. Not to mention there's about 3 to 4 million of those coins who have been lost forever.
Yep.
So out of a total supply, if we take 3 million out of the total supply, we have about 15.5 million coins that are out there, and about, I would say roughly about 13 million of those have not moved in over a year.
Wow.
So we have about 2 million coins out there that are tradable, buyable or off exchanges and so forth, that are moving around as far as Bitcoin is concerned.
And with Grayscale and I was going to say with Grayscale and MicroStrategy doing what they're doing, it's definitely going to be a liquidity crisis.
Continually purchases more Bitcoin than are being created, and that's one.
Crazy.
There's 900 coins being created a day. They continually purchase more Bitcoin than are being created. That's one entity. MicroStrategy is trying its best to go in as much debt as possible. They continually do these sales of, I don't know if they're selling bonds or whatever it is they're selling.
Complex, very complex situation they got going on.
To as much debt as possible.
Yeah.
To buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
This is one of the best investors on the planet. Is trying to get as much debt as he can get to purchase Bitcoin. Wow. If that's not an eye opener, I don't know what else is. You have Elon Musk, some call the richest man on the planet. He just went in, test run. You best believe that was a test run. He bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. You have BlackRock, who is in control of $7 to $8 trillion. That's with a T. They are playing with $7 to $8 trillion in assets. They made the statement that they are dabbling in Bitcoin.
Hmm.
It's if these trends continue to pick up and accelerate, it's going to be extremely easy to see $1 million Bitcoin by December.
So let me ask you
That's why
something.
I said.
So go on. So go on. Go on. Go on. So go on.
No. I was just gonna say that's the reason I'm saying 4 to 600,000 as a bare minimum.
4 to 600,000 as a bare minimum, as a maximum 1 million. You heard it for here first from Benny.
Or more.
Oh more, oh more. That is crazy, crazy numbers. But yeah, I'm not. I've definitely heard it
Kathy
before.
Woods.
Yeah,
I didn't mention Kathy Woods.
yeah.
Kathy Woods is she's the manager of Ark Investments or
Ark
something like
Investments.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's outperformed every investment strategist over the last 2 to 5 years or something like that. She's
Mm.
amazing.
Mm.
She has predicted that there's going to be a $600,000 minimum Bitcoin this year.
In
And she gave you
2021.
she gave you the number. She broke down how many corporations, how much they would have to allocate, anywhere from 1 to 10% of value of their corporations into Bitcoin, and she gave you the full breakdown in detail about how easy it would be to get 600,000, and that was her guesstimation or prediction. She is she is something that is unrivaled in the world of investment.
Mm.
And it's just it's I really don't. It's really hard to put all this stuff into words because
Mm.
I can see it. I breathe it and I walk this thing. I sleep this thing. I wake up and on
Yeah.
this thing, and it's still very difficult to
Comprehend it. It's quite.
communicate
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
another person of what I envision, how I'm seeing this. It's very difficult to put it into words, to communicate it.
So Benny, let me ask you a question then. So, what's your number? Like, what number does Bitcoin have to reach for you to sell it?
Nah,
What do you mean now? Like,
as a safeguard, when it reaches its peak as a safeguard, I would probably take the entire profit. I come in with about $4,000. I've reached over 136,000 so
yeah.
far in less than 7 months. If I'm at $1 million, by December, I will pull off every single thing that I have in there, and put it in a stable coin except the original $4,000 that I put into it.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I would do, and then I would watch it for 2 or 3 months, and to see what kind of news comes about. If it's continually bought up, regardless of us reaching December, um, and I would just watch, and depending on how the environment looked, the atmosphere and everything, how it felt, I would probably try to buy back as much Bitcoin as possible with what I've turned into stable coin, and I would just be very watchful, but I would never want to sell any Bitcoin ever. I would collateralize it as I've done with Aave, and I would access liquidity of funds through collateralizing my Bitcoin and other solid holdings that I have, and I would probably try not to sell any of it.
So let's elaborate more on this. So, in this section, let's talk a bit more about your strategy to the little man or people just getting into Bitcoin on how they get the best out of this bull run. So, I'm going to hand the floor over to you.
Okay. Well, you don't get any smaller, or you don't get any little. You don't get any little man than I am. I'm in prison. I've been in prison for over 9 years. For about 9 years. So you don't get any little man more than I am. Um, I was able to access a few $1,000s. I I guess this probably happened before or after our first interview.
Yeah.
My mom, she bought her a new truck. She works for Ford Motor Company. She gave the truck to me, pretty much her old truck, and I told her I wanted to buy Bitcoin with it, of course. And she said, well, if that's what you want to do, so I said, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. So I advertised the truck on Facebook. It took me about 3 days to sell the truck for $10,000
Wow.
on Facebook. I lent some money out to my sister, and my mom took $1,000, and I bought a lot of things for my son, whom I haven't had any contact with since I've been locked up, except until I got this phone. My son is 10 years old now. He was 2 years old when I got locked up, so I did a lot for my son, to express, my love for my son.
Yeah, of course.
So I ended up with about $4,000 to go into, Bitcoin and crypto with, and so I don't, you don't get more little man than me. And I've taken $4,000 and turned it into $136,000 in less than 7 months. But that's because of the knowledge that I have about Bitcoin and crypto over the last 4 years. I've had to study this. The average person in the world, they don't have 24 hours a day to study this like I do. That's one advantage I actually have by being in prison. So for the last 4 years, I've turned this into basically a master's degree.
It's amazing.
Thanks to the resources that people have, my mom and other people who have helped me access the resources of these books and stuff, and these newspapers and magazines and articles off of Google. So, like I said, it doesn't get any smaller than me. All a person would have to do is purchase this thing, learn as they go, collateralize the assets that they've gained, take advantage of small projects that actually solve real world problems, that have gained some kind of traction, or most likely will gain traction. The Polkadot platform is giving whitelist to coins and letting you know coins before they drop. Even if you don't get them pre-sale, you can get them as soon as they drop on something like Uniswap, way before they hit anything like a Coinbase or a Kraken. And you could easily 100x your money. It's very easy that, you could 10x your money. I'll 10x my money in many projects in less than a week or two. So, I mean, there's really nothing that rivals this. If you watch TV, stop watching TV and start learning about crypto. Read some crypto books. Learn about DeFi. If whatever it is you do, if it's not really bringing any real value to your life, it doesn't compare to what you will get from learning this. Even if you have to stay up nights, hours, even if you have to lose sleep, this is more than worth it, because it's life changing. It brings a value to your life and your world that is probably never been possible ever on this planet. For me, for somebody in my situation, it's something that I have nothing to compare this to. If you're a drug dealer on the streets and you're trying to make ends meet and you're trying to just make it through, you can put that away now. You can take that money that you've earned from selling drugs on the street, and you can go in this crypto and learn about it, and you can create generational wealth with yourself and your family, and do something great with, because that's what people sell drugs for initially, is to get out of their situation. A person that works every day, like I tell people over and over, you can take your entire paycheck and buy Bitcoin with it every week and leverage it on something like Aave, and you can take these loans, these short loans throughout the week, and pay all your bills up for the month. I mean, it's that easy. During a bull run only, though. I mean, so this is a once every 4 year opportunity. Right. I don't know if we'll have this opportunity again, because like you said, the infrastructure and the corporations that's buying it up, this might be, the last bull run was probably the last one where it's going to drop 80%. In that case, this will be your last opportunity to do something like that. Pay yourself out of debt and still have and still gain value.
Mm.
So you can do that today. I mean, with this bull run in full swing, you can literally buy Bitcoin with every paycheck, lock that Bitcoin in on Aave, and as Bitcoin continues to move up and up, even when it takes a dip, it doesn't matter. It's going to come back up, and you can literally leverage small loans and pay off all of your bills every month, and continually buy Bitcoin with your entire paycheck.
Mm.
A lot of people they don't see something like this as good advice, because traditionally taking a loan and paying off your bills is going to get you stuck. You're going to be trapped in the in the negative.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have an asset that's moving at let's just look at $4,800 at this time last year that Bitcoin was, and you look at today, it's 50,000. Okay, that's over 1,000. That's over 1,000% gain, and that's not even during a bull run. That was initiating a bull run. We're actually in a bull run, so it's going to do more than 1,000%. From January this year to December, it's going to do over 1,000%. And I would be willing to put everything on the line that it's going to do that.
Mm.
Um,
It's a lot of conviction there.
So a person who works every day can constantly buy pieces of this asset, and store it away in something like Aave, where they can collateralize it and leverage it, and take these small loans and pay off their bills. And you're killing 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 birds with one stone, because you can take these small loans out and pay off your bills for the month, and you can go grocery shopping, you can buy clothes, you can put down on a vehicle, and at the same time, simultaneously, you're collecting this valuable asset that's moving. This year, you can, let's just say half of that. Let's just say this year is going to move at 500%. So even if you can go to the bank, like Michael Saylor says, even if you can go to a traditional financial institution and get a loan at 10%, 5%, 20%, it still doesn't compare to an asset that's moving at 500% or more.
Mm.
It's going to pay that off itself. It's going to pay off its own loan and some, exponentially. I mean, and I'm being very serious when I say this, because this shouldn't be taken lightly for someone to tell you to go into debt to buy an asset.
So is this not risky? That's what a lot of people are going to be saying. This is a very high risk approach, given the unpredictability of Bitcoin.
If you sell it lower than you bought it, yes.
Okay.
If you hold it and you understand what's going on with this bull market, not only is it not risky, but it's risky not to do it. and I'm taking the words of a billionaire.
Mm.
Not only a billionaire, but we're talking about a billionaire rocket scientist.
Interesting.
I mean, and I'm serious when I say this.
Mm.
This is a very serious topic here, because people work hard for their money, and they can't afford to be risky. And that's why a lot of people are scared and they don't do it. But I'm telling you that it's more risky and dangerous not to do it. Because when the dollar collapses, let's say the dollar continuously loses 7 to 10% of its value every year. Not to mention they're going to print more trillions. It's going to lose more than that 7 to 10% value. It's more risky not to do this.
Mm. Yeah, it does feel like we are going into a period where there's going to be a massive inflation event happening globally. So and what we're seeing in terms of the money printing from the COVID crisis, yeah.
Mouse, the Republicans printed $6 trillion. What do you think the Democrats?
That's all they know how to do. The Democrats, right? That's all they ever do. Print. It's crazy.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. Again, It's a no-brainer. If the Republicans, who believe in less government, if they printed 6 trillion, what in the world do you think the Democrats are going to do? It's dangerous not to get into Bitcoin.
Whatever advice you can give on avoiding scams, protecting keys, yeah. What advice do you have for people coming into this space?
Find somebody like Bennie. Find somebody like Bennie, because it's a steep learning curve when it comes to security. Most people are scared of technology. Most people don't understand it. Even if you give them the basics, they don't understand it. They're scared to death. They're frozen in fear. Security is very easy with crypto, but like I said, it's very scary going into technology for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I've already mentioned before about the projects. If it's not Bitcoin or Ethereum, be very skeptical. Does it solve a real world problem? Can this real world problem be efficiently solved any other way without using a crypto project? If it can, then I wouldn't put money in a crypto project. People who look at something like Dogecoin or what else pumped this year, Ripple, XRP.
Yeah.
These are not, Ripple or XRP is not a real cryptocurrency. It's not on a decentralized network. There's not blockchain. There's no miners. It's pure centralization at its finest. Parading around as a cryptocurrency. They have been exposed by many. Now, recently, they've been exposed by the government, saying that you guys are presenting yourselves as a security.
Yep.
Then you look at Dogecoin. Dogecoin has way too many coins out there to possibly reach $1. A lot of people are saying no, it can't reach $1 because Elon Musk is supporting it. But there's no real world use to this thing. It has no utility. It doesn't solve any kind of problem. People can easily be led astray in this space. Then you're looking at the keys, your mnemonic phrase, which is going to be your 12 or 24 words to a non-custodial wallet. And then you have people that don't know the difference between non-custodial and custodial. So if you keep your coins on an exchange, that's custodial. You don't control the private key. They're not your coins. As they say in crypto, not your keys, not your coins. Then you have, you have things like Robinhood. That not only is it an exchange, but it gives you a platform to trade and move coins supposedly to other people that's also on the platform. But again, you don't have the keys. You don't have a 12-word mnemonic. They are not your coins. Something like Robinhood doesn't even allow you to withdraw coins that you supposedly own. Cash App, they're not your coins when they're on Cash App, but the good thing about Cash App is not only is it easy to buy Bitcoin, but it's very easy to withdraw. And you can send those coins to your own personal non-custodial wallet. On top of that, Cash App actually pays the miner fee for moving your coins. So you have to know the difference between, what non-custodial and custodial is. You have to know the wording and the terminology to know the difference. You have hardware wallets such as a Nano Ledger. You have a Treasure, things of this nature that allows you to store your crypto outside of a internet system, something that has never touched a computer that's connected to the internet. And these are your security features that come with crypto that are very easy to implement and very difficult to break. But if you don't understand the difference or how to utilize them, then you can be the victim of anyone out there, not just a scammer or a shark, but also any kind of hacker or anyone can tell you, hey, give me your 12 words and I can help you, do da-da-da-da-da, with your crypto. But something you never do is share your 12 words with anyone. Not with anyone unless you trust this person with accessing your entire, wealth, store wealth. And So the security is very easy to implement and very expensive to try to break unless you can trick someone out of the private key. But these are things that come with this space that
Yeah.
the average person doesn't even know or understand or won't even begin to comprehend.
Yeah.
And they will easily be misled with a lot of FUD. FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Mhm.
And that's what a lot of these news media people are doing with Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah,
They put
definitely.
they put out a lot of negative information to keep the little people like me away from it,
Mm.
especially those who don't understand it. And they'll say, "Oh, it can be hacked. It's dangerous. It's volatile. It's risky."
Mm.
And you're not gonna take the chance to um, to embrace this world changing innovation, this technology to where it can change your life. And the most important thing is educating yourself and getting educated.
100%. So, Benny, before we close out, I just want to, one of the major things that you always point to is education and research. What would you say are the best kind of resources for people to read, to get started, to really engross themselves in the space, but really to benefit in this year's bull run cycle?
I mean, of course, I'm always going to start at the bare basic fundamentals.
Yep.
I have to again, I can't overstate
Yep.
Andreas's value. Andreas Antonopoulos. He's on YouTube as Antonop. That's AANTONOP. That's his YouTube channel. I believe he has a Patreon or whatever. Something where you can donate and you can get exclusive access to material or whatever. But you don't even need that. Just tune into his not Facebook, his YouTube, and access his playlist that he gives for beginners. You have there's a black guy named Elijah. He has a YouTube channel, which the name of his channel was "What Happened to Common Sense." I
I
mean,
like that.
he's immaculate. I mean, he goes into full detail for viewers.
Mm.
He's very educational. I mean, he doesn't skip a beat. He
Mm.
stays on top of news.
Mm.
He's in the programming. I mean, this dude he's amazing. It's
Mhm.
himself, and I would put him right up there with somebody like Andreas.
Wow. Okay,
Um,
we'll check this guy out.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. His channel was "What Happened to Common Sense,"
Wow. Okay.
and you'll see a black guy with a low haircut. Um, his name is Elijah. He usually goes live, and his video streams usually last for at least an hour or two,
Wow.
if not more. Yeah, he's very detailed, and he has a
Tech.
seminar also or something that he offers. But it's not even needed. You don't even need that. I mean, you could just listen to this man. You can watch any of his streams.
Mm.
Um, I mean, besides those two, I would say, uh, I don't want to complicate things for people who don't
Yeah.
really know much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much as far as people who are talking about charts and stuff like that,
Yeah.
because that's going to complicate things for a
Yeah.
person that doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Um, I would say read the Internet of Money, of course. I mean, but if you really want to get deep into the technicals of something like Bitcoin and what allowed all of these other things to exist, you must read Mastering Bitcoin. It's very technical. The first three chapters is
Very.
easy to read, but after the first three chapters, you're going to get into some complicated math and programming and code. I took a coding course just because I wanted to
Oh wow.
better
Brilliant.
understand those chapters.
Fantastic.
And I mean, the Book of Satoshi, which introduces you to Satoshi himself, his own words, and it gives you a little background about the financial system. That's a book by Phil Champagne. It's called The Book of Satoshi. I mean, any articles from any prominent sources, because you got to be careful when you read articles and when you watch guys on YouTube, because they come across as crypto supportive. They might come across as they're all for crypto and they're informed and they can tell you the news and they can tell you about technology, but they are paid by
Mm.
people who are threatened by this technology and its
Wow.
innovation. and they will tell you all these things that how knowledgeable they are, and then they'll tell you nothing but things that will put you in fear.
Anybody,
And
anybody, anybody you want to call out or to avoid?
well, I mean
Name
that's
names.
a balancing. That's a balancing test. Somebody like Bit Boy, I follow Bit Boy, but the
Yeah,
thing about somebody like Bit Boy,
yeah.
he does a lot of
He's a marketing guy. He's not even like a
yeah, he does a lot
techie.
of marketing for
Yeah,
different projects. He
yeah,
allows too many people to pay him to speak.
yeah. I've noticed
Therefore,
that about him.
how much can you trust
Yeah, I've
about
noticed
what
that
he's
about him.
telling you? Now,
Yeah.
somebody like me who's well versed in the technology, I know when he's shelling. I know when
Ah,
he's
okay.
pumping a project
Right.
versus when he's actually giving you genuine information.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, but
Yeah.
the average person cannot decipher the difference between when he's shilling and pumping a project versus when he's giving you genuine facts that are unbiased.
He just talks up too many projects for my liking. It's just like,
and
how
and
could,
and,
yeah,
and which
yeah,
ones are paying him to pump.
yeah,
So
yeah,
when he tells you about this project is so great and it's going to kill Ethereum,
yeah,
and you go and you look up this project and you read up on it itself and you say, okay, this is not a threat to Ethereum. You
yeah.
know for a fact that okay, they paid him to speak so greatly about this thing, and he probably gets continual weekly payments to say
Mm,
something about these people on a regular.
yeah,
So you
I'd
can't
say so.
trust somebody like him. Andreas Antonopoulos would never do that.
No, no, you don't know. He would not even waste his
No,
time.
the guy Elijah that has the channel called "What Happened to Common Sense," he's never gonna do that.
Yeah,
So outside of those two, I can't tell you who else will
yeah,
not do that.
yeah,
I watch Corn Bureau. I love Corn Bureau. I would never say nothing negative about them, but sometimes they do advertisements.
mm,
Okay, if he does advertisements, who knows what he might do down the line? I don't wanna recommend somebody that's great right now, but later on, he might take any kind of payment down the
yeah,
line.
yeah.
This guy Elijah and Andreas Antonopoulos, I know neither one of them they're not gonna do it
They're
down the
not here
line.
for the money. They're not on it for the money.
No, they're no, and they're not only that they're gonna feel offended by
Yeah,
anyone who tries to buy them off. So outside of those two people, I don't have any other recommendations right offhand. Besides
fantastic,
myself.
fantastic. Okay, so Benny, how can people engage more with you and hear more from you?
Um, of course you can. Yeah, please. My fault.
No worries, no worries. Take your
Of
time. Take your
course,
time.
of course. With me, you can find me on Facebook,
Yep.
and you don't have to be on Facebook. You can also reach me through Messenger, even if you're not on Facebook.
Sure.
You can find me as Bitcoin Blockmaster. There's a picture of me when I had my dreadlocks and I'm wearing a hat. Um, I've cut my dreads since then.
Okay. Cool.
My locks. Some people don't, that term is derogatory
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes, so I say
yeah.
my locks. Um, but yeah, I have locks in the picture, and it's a cartoonized picture.
Sure, yeah. I'll see them.
And that's my name. There is Bitcoin Blockmaster.
Okay.
I can be reached at Benihana1 at protonmail.com. That's BENIHONNA and the number 1 at protonmail.com. That's my email.
So Benny, we're here listening to your thoughts, your content, and it's enriching all of us in terms, from listening to you. I feel motivated about what's going to happen in this year. So obviously your current situation is not fantastic, and we know the situation is going to change. It's going to change, but what can we do to help you out in your situation? In terms of legal support, is there anything the listeners can do to support you?
I think this is part of my story,
Yeah,
and I'm glad you asked because I've helped a lot of people.
yeah,
Um, and I helped a lot of people because I want to push the idea of what this all means to to us as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and evolving as into something greater, I push this because I want to see a better world for my child that has to grow up in this world than and better opportunities, and better expressions of himself, than I had growing up.
Yeah.
So recently I've created a wallet for my son. The first wallet he lost the 12 words, and I gave him pure responsibility for that. A 10-year-old,
yeah,
a
of course.
10-year-old that was probably too much to put on a 10-year-old.
Yeah, cool.
Me and my mom had about about $600 worth of Bitcoin in this wallet.
All right.
Early last year, about this time last year, and my son lost it. He lost the 12 words. I created him a new wallet.
You better take those 12 words and put and store.
Not only did I take the 12 words, I took the 12 words.
Yeah.
I bought my son a little safe, like a little fireproof safe from Amazon. I sent that to him, and I told him to put his 12 words in there. And my mom also has the 12 words.
Yeah.
And my son's mom has the 12 words.
Yeah.
So he can't lose this one. He's read about 4 or 5 different children's book on Bitcoin right now. And I'm pegged to education.
Yes.
There's other people, and I'm doing that with my son. There's other people that I've came in contact with here in prison. A few people are in prison, and quite a few people out there in the world that I have shown how to use DeFi as far as Aave and leverage their assets, and they have reached heights that they never could have imagined. They have reached goals that they never even imagined of even having.
Yeah.
And then legally, you're looking at I've exhausted my habeas corpus. I've exhausted these things. Joe Biden has come into office. The Democrats, they have the House and they have the Senate.
Yeah.
Joe Biden wrote the 93 crime bill.
Yes, he did.
Made the situation the way it is here in these federal prisons and the states that adopted these things. So I believe that Joe Biden is going to change something very soon.
Right.
As far as the legal system, the justice system is concerned, and I believe I'm going to benefit from it.
You will.
And so as far as my legal things go, my dad has stage 4 lung cancer. He's just been released from the hospital. He actually had COVID.
Wow.
On top of the stage 4 lung cancer. He was in bad shape for about 2 weeks in the hospital. They just released him, saying that there was nothing else they could do for him, so they released him on hospice. And he went home on hospice. He does have a nurse come to see him once a day. One thing I could possibly do is file for a compassionate release and to take care of my dad. While he's, they've pretty much written him off as there's nothing else they can do for him. That would be wonderful if I could be granted compassionate release by the courts. The courts have been granting compassionate release for people who could possibly be exposed to
COVID.
Getting COVID.
Yeah.
In this setting in prison where you can't social distance. So if you have any health problems like high blood pressure and diabetes and overweight and stuff like that, which the only thing I would probably qualify for is high blood pressure. I don't have diabetes or anything like that. I would probably qualify for high blood pressure, and my dad, having stage 4 lung cancer, and just being released, from the hospital on hospice with COVID. Maybe I will possibly be eligible for compassionate release.
So do you need legal support to push that through, to help push that situation through? Is that how it works?
It would definitely be helpful if I had some kind of legal support to help me file this paperwork with the courts for compassionate release.
Wow. Okay.
Financially, if I had people who were interested in learning how to, use DeFi, and, I would be willing to continually educate as many people as possible that contacted me, and hopefully I could get compensated for my time and knowledge. I mean, because I don't want any handouts. I'm not looking for any handouts. And I would, it would help me continually build my son's wallet and my own financial future, so that when I do get released, I can go ahead and jump right into life and live again.
Of course.
Because this isn't living.
What you're leaving us with is a very positive outlook for 2021. Just before we close out, do you want to just say a final few words to the listeners? Obviously, you're going to be back with the DeFi episode, but for now, do you want to say anything just to encourage, engage the listener? Go on.
Yeah. There's something that I missed that I really need to put out there, is the fact that I've been in prison for 9 years now, and you have given me a voice, because society has written me off as valueless, and you have given me a voice to, you have given me a voice that will be valuable to many that listen to this, and that those who listen to it and will tell someone else. I mean, it's limitless as how far my voice can go from here, from you giving me this opportunity to have a voice. And I mean, that's huge for me. That's everything for me, man. And and then you taking this extra step to say, what can we do for you? You've done more than enough by giving me a voice, man. That's priceless.
No, understand.
I mean, that's humongous. And I need to give my gratitude to you as much as as far as it can go. Thank you very much, for giving me a voice. It's like a person in a grave, speaking out from the grave. I mean, there's no value I can put on that, and I really appreciate you for that. I greatly appreciate you giving me the opportunity to have a voice, man.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share your message, and for me, this is a new beginning for you that you're building right now as you're in your current situations. For me, it's just an honor to be part of that. So let's get this message out there, and until next time, Benny, look forward to it. Let's catch up on the next one. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Take care. You have a good one, bro. Take care. So what do you think? I always enjoy having a conversation with Benny because, first and foremost, he breaks down ideas which to many are really complex, and it makes them sound so simple, and it makes them really make sense to any layman, anyone coming new to this Bitcoin space. So, what I normally do at the end of these podcasts is just say what my biggest takeaways are. I've got two big ones, I think. Over the few years that I've been sort of studying Bitcoin, getting to know it, understand this technology, I've come across a few great speakers, and I'm always going to call out Andrea Antonopoulos as one of the best. But a new one for me has to be Michael Saylor. I mean, how he breaks down his ideas around Bitcoin being a monetary network and an energy, and how he just looks at Bitcoin from a metaphysical perspective is just like, it's mad. It's just, I never thought about money as energy, and now that's an idea that will never leave my head. But similar to Andreas and Michael Saylor, Benny is really good at giving you a visual picture. For me, the idea of Bitcoin being an invention that allows you to store value in your head is something that made my head explode a little bit. I mean, just think of that idea. You don't have to carry bars of gold anywhere. You don't have to have it in houses anymore that can be taxed or property that can be seized by governments. That is actually the groundbreaking idea about Bitcoin. Just that simple concept just really sticks in my head. So to answer the question, will there be a super cycle in 2021 or maybe even in 2022? That's a question that we can't actually answer right now. We're just going to have to wait and see. What we can see in terms of on-chain metrics, new wallets that are being created by new Bitcoiners, by Bitcoin inventory and Bitcoin supply on exchanges being at its lowest in terms of Google searches on the term Bitcoin. All metrics and all trends are pointing in the direction of Bitcoin having the most interest it's ever had and the most eyes on it. And we also made aware on a daily basis of the wave of institutional money that is swirling around the Bitcoin space. But that is no indication of what's actually going to happen. We all know Bitcoin is as unpredictable as weather in the UK, which is very unpredictable. The one thing I could definitely say is be prepared for the unexpected. I think there's going to be a lot of millionaires made, and also think there's going to be a lot of people losing money just by not knowing what they're doing and speculating. But that is what a bull run cycle is about. All I can do is urge you guys, if you're getting involved, study, do your due diligence, and reach out to the people who you know have been in the space a bit longer than you. Just get their advice. They may be able to save you from a lot of pain. So definitely reach out to people that you know. Just before I sign out, I'm going to again point you to the show notes. Please, we're taking donations for Benny, Bitcoin, Ethereum donations, cash. Please contact us. But most importantly, we're reaching out to our listeners across the pond. If you have any legal contacts within the criminal justice system in America, please let us know. Any support they can give to get someone to view Benny's case, or just someone who can help get him closer to the new reforms within the criminal justice system, which we hope are going to be implemented by the Biden administration. Just having those conversations could be priceless. You can get Benny back to his family, back to his community, for him to really start adding value to the people around him. So guys, I thank you for tuning in. This is our first podcast back on the set, back on the scene. We hope you've enjoyed. We hope that this brings a lot of value to you. As always, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Check out the website, bitcoinbiomalks.com. And of course, and just engage with us, man. Engage with us. Like, this is going to be a big year. You're going to need us. You're going to need to talk to us. Take care. Stay safe. Bitcoin by Malks, signing out.